that's the most important thing. Like if it's your first meet, there's like a lot of things that happen. You know, there's the weigh-ins that are kind of difficult
Mm.
to handle. Like when you get there, the first thing that's going to happen is the weigh-ins. So it's not like the most easy thing to follow. There's kind of like a little list on the door, and you kind of need to know when you're going to get called. If you miss your name, you're going to be at the back of the line, and it's not super fun because if you miss your weigh-in, then you're going to have less time to prepare for the lifts
Mm.
itself, right? So you have the weigh-ins that are the first thing, and then after that you have the taking the rack heights. So someone needs to check your rack heights, like what you're going to be using for squat and bench. Then after you take those things, you're going to have the a kind of like a period where there's going to be nothing really happening, or you kind of you eat or something. It's kind of more relaxed at that point, and then you start warm-ups before the meet
Yeah.
itself.
So
Yeah.
Pretty
So
much.
I think it's for your first time it could be a little intimidating, and I think one thing that ended up helping me and Anthony, when we did our first meet back in last April, we went to this info session at STH Power Gym in Saint Hyacinthe, where they literally told us like how everything was gonna go down. Like they told us first you're gonna have the weigh-ins, then you're gonna have the rack heights, and they were just telling us step by step what to do. So when we got there, we were so prepared. Like it felt like it felt like we had already done a meet like a few
mm.
times already. And the meet organizers actually told me and Anthony, like it felt like you guys are kind of already prepared for this. Like you've done like 6 meets or something. So I think that was
Yeah.
a cool thing.
Yeah,
Cool
and I think
compliment.
also like the craziest thing about that was like we pretty much, because also like the thing that they really like emphasized was have a good handler for you, because for all the reasons that we explained before. And it's like from that meeting, me and Evan were able to like pretty much like instruct like Heiko and also my handler. For the first one was my friend Brandon, and for the second one was another friend Chris. But we were pretty much able from that one meeting to instruct three people to do this job, where like usually they say you need somebody who's experienced, you need somebody who like has done it a few times already, this and
Mm.
that. And it's like I found it was just so valuable for what it was, like $20 or like $30. It was like 3 hours of our time. It was like more than worth it.
Yeah, it was really great. Like we even had a workout after when we were there on the info session day. Some of the coaches that were there were giving us tips on our squat and stuff. Like it was so great. Like it was a good
Yeah, I
experience.
guess to not be afraid to ask for help, really, from other lifters, other
Yeah.
trainers, coaches. That's the thing, the community is there to help each other, and the end goal is not to like beat anyone or win some sort of prize. It's you're competing against yourself. You're trying to better yourself, which was another thing. At first I was like, well, what prize do you win? Like, okay, at the end the winner gets what? And Evan was like, nothing. I mean, really? Other, that's the thing. Other contests, sports, you win something, a prize, money, or anything. But this is just like, okay, well, here's a top person, here's a second, here's the third. Hooray, let's take a picture, and that's it. It kind of ends there. But that's the whole thing. It's improving upon yourself and seeing, how far you can go.
That's actually a interesting point you bring up, because it's something that like I've thought about recently. And it's like I'm just really excited to like go to like a provincial or even like a national level meet and just see like how, I don't know, like if it is tense in the air or not, because like there you're actually like competing for something like tangible. Like, okay, I am Quebec's number one power lifter in my weight class and age class. You know what I mean? So like I'm
Yeah.
really curious to know like how the environment shifts when you go to like these more competitive meets.
Yeah, I was hearing. I don't know if you guys know Matt Venna. I think
I've
you guys
seen
do.
Yeah, of
some of his
course.
videos on YouTube.
Yeah, he's like another YouTuber. He's like a high level powerlifter in Canada, right? He was saying at I think recent nationals that like before his like I think he was trying to hit like a huge deadlift or something to put him in first place. Like apparently everyone in the back room was like hyping him up and all that. So I don't know if it's going to be that different, honestly. I feel like powerlifting is just like that in nature, that a lot of people just kind of lift each other
Yeah.
up, maybe at the IPF level, maybe it'll be a little different because country versus country. But maybe up until the national level, I feel like everyone's just kind of in there to help each other out.
Might be a bit more competitive, but I guess still, people hold each other's backs, even in that sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what were your, for maybe a question for both of you guys? Like, what were your favorite like moments at those meets? Like, is there something that kind of stuck with you?
Anthony, if you want, you can go ahead.
Sure. I'm just trying to think of like one specific one.
Maybe I could start. I mean, one moment that I think that was kind of funny, maybe not my favorite moment, but more like a funny one, was when I had to take my opening squat on the last meet we did, and we had like an issue with the rack height. I don't know if you guys remember. I was warming up. I was warming up with Anthony and some other tall dude. So, Anthony was having an issue with the rack height because he was more or less the same height as the other guy. But me, I kept having to like kind of use
at a higher level,
kind of go on my tippy toes, tippy toes to unrack the bar. And, at the beginning with the first warm-ups, it wasn't too bad because it was lighter weight and I could handle it. But getting to my last warm-up, it started becoming heavy, right? So we decided it'd be dangerous to make me squat with that rack height. So we ended up having to kind of remove all the weight on the bar, change the rack height, then load the bar back again, right? So what that did was like it took a lot of time on our kind of our lifting schedule, with all the attempts going on. So we load the bar back on. Then I do my last warm up, and right when I finish my warm up, they call my name to go on the platform. So I wasn't expecting that. So I basically had no rest time between my last warm up and my opening squat. But that like really terrified me at the beginning because I was like, man, am I gonna fail my first lift because of that?
But it went pretty good. Funny enough, I think it was.
Yeah. I ended up smoking that squat, I think.
Dude, you ended up smoking like 400 pounds that you never touched in prep. So I guess it didn't bother you that much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Squats went really well that day. I don't know. I mean, for you too, right? I mean, I think just your last squat ended up being kind of like a RP like 10 squat, or
like my last attempt was 380. I've never touched that. Like the highest I touched was, I think literally the highest I touched before 380 was 365 from the last meet. Because I remember taking 365 in that prep and I failed it because I did it after like a 3-day chalet bender, I guess.
Bender.
So I ended up failing 365 in the second prep. So like when I got 380 and I actually got it in the meet, I was like, what the hell is going on? Like I was not expecting that, like especially after the prep I had on squats. Because you remember, like 3 weeks before I got really sick, and you had also another problem that I can't really remember. But like we were both like really like out of it for like 3-4 weeks before our meet.
Yeah.
And then we both ended up having great squats.
Yeah, it was the start of my Crohn's. It was around there.
Yeah.
So
and
both of us for that meet were kind of we had the odds stacked against us, I would say, a little bit.
Pretty much.
It was we were both literally considering pulling out of that one. It was kind of like a dire situation at some point.
Yeah, I remember that conversation. We just kind of like stared at each other for like 20 minutes. Like, do we just quit?
Yeah.
Honestly,
we got to that point.
I found my favorite part. I think that was my favorite part of the meet, where we both looked at each other like, yo, are we really going to quit? Then after like a bit of thinking, we're like, nah, fuck that.
Yeah, it's like shut up and squat at that point.
Literally. And then we just ended up going anyways.
Gotta power through.
Yeah.
Use the mindset.
Favorite part of the meet.
Yeah. It was the mindset at that point. I mean, there was... I remember that day. That was another one of my favorite moments, I guess, kind of like overcoming. What happened was that day, I remember I woke up, the night before, I woke up in the middle of the night. I think it was 1 a.m. I couldn't sleep. I felt like shit because, my Crohn's had started, and it was hard for me to lift and kind of deal with that. And I felt like so nauseous all night. Like I wasn't even sure if I was going to be able to lift the next day. Like I was scared. And I remember just not telling you guys because I don't want you guys to worry about me. Because like if I worried, because you know like how they say like when an athlete kind of warns their coaches like, oh, I don't feel well, and then the coach kind of
Panicking.
starts like worrying. So I was like, oh, I can't worry Heiko because he might like overthink or something. So I just kind of kept it to myself and pretended nothing happened, and ended up going really well. So I can't complain.
No, it went pretty well. Yeah, no, I'm proud of you guys that you pushed through. No, it went pretty good. From my end, like, you know, an interesting thing, I guess, from both meets, you know, similar, is that as the day goes on, the noise level increases because the lifts, you know, from squat to bench to deadlift, like the energy and like the yelling and like go yeah, lift, and it's like people go nuts. Like the last few lifts, which are, you know, the heaviest deadlifts basically, are just insane. Like the way everyone yells, you know, to encourage the lifter. I just find it, you know, pretty funny and interesting.
Yeah. One of the best like environments you could ever be in. It's like everyone's hyping each other up. Everyone's just trying to do the best for each other. You know, it's really cool to see.
It can get a bit stuffy though. You gotta get some air flowing, or maybe walk outside a few times because, you know, that's it.
With all the chalk flying
goodness.
around.
Oh my god.
People slapping people's backs
I
with the chalk.
I hated being that guy. Like in the second meet, I was preparing for one of my lifts, and like some guy was like took chalk and like clapped a lot. So literally, like I'm just there like focusing. All I hear is like, so I just start like coughing, and it's like it completely threw me off before my lift. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, I remember after my last deadlift, I kind of came up to Anthony. I gave him a hug, but I still had like I had chalk on my back from like my squat. So then like Anthony kind of touches my back, and all the chalk goes flying. He starts coughing.
Yeah, my lungs were not with me at the end of that meet. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. That's why. Yeah. I think maybe sometimes they should focus a bit more on the air filtration and like ventilating, because it can get a bit. I mean, it's okay. It's, you know, you won't die, but.
Yeah, we also got. There's something that was kind of like underrated about those 2 days was we had really nice weather, which ended up being like a blessing almost, because, you know, when we like, you know, whenever we wanted to take air or something or eat or whatever, go outside for something, like it wasn't like, oh, I have to like cover up from the rain or, you know, something like that. It was just perfect weather, and it was a nice day on both of those occasions.
Yeah, we got lucky. Yeah
because I feel like if like you go outside and it's rainy and then you have to like go lift and you're all wet, like it's not super ideal, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to do that.
Also, another thing I guess that you know, new lifters participating should manage is going to the bathroom.
Why do you say that, Heiko?
I don't know. I was okay. It's just, you know, the people who have to constantly drink fluid because, you know, they're just lifting so heavy. Since you're also wearing a singlet, it can be a bit, you know, awkward to try to get this off. So I guess to be aware of that, like, how much do I drink? Okay, when do I go to the bathroom? Should I hold on or should I go now? Because sometimes it happened, right? Someone went and they called their name.
You just reminded me.
Yeah.
My official favorite moment was when our friend when he
oh my goodness,
first I think it was like his first squat. Because, like, at the gym, you have, like, the platform inside, right? But, like, there's one bathroom, and then there's a porta potty outside, or, like, 2 porta potties or something. So, literally, while his name is being called, literally, everybody's looking around the gym, like, yo, where are you? And then, like, literally, all you see is just him coming back from the porta potty, back into the gym, wondering what the hell is going on.
Were people yelling that he's in the bathroom, Yeah.
Yeah, it was amazing. Well, that happened to me right on the first meet. I drank so much water all week in preparation for that meet. Like, I just kept drinking like every day. Okay, I'm gonna drink a lot of water every single day just to make sure I'm really hydrated that day. And turns out like every like 5 minutes I had to go to the bathroom, and it was so inconvenient because you know. They call your name to lift. You're like, oh man, should I go to the bathroom or should I go lift? You know, it was tricky.
Yeah. So might sound funny, but you gotta learn
Advice,
to manage it. Yeah.
literally keep it in and then go as soon as you finish your
Yeah.
lift. You have like
Yeah.
at least a good like what 6 7 minutes, so you better make sure you get it done after right after the lift.
Yeah, and I think that comes down also to like sodium intake,
Mm.
right? Like how you're kind of balancing your electrolytes and how you're managing your fluids overall. Like if you're drinking too much water and not taking enough electrolytes, and your hydration level could kind of be like out of whack almost, and you're gonna have to run to the bathroom all the time.
Mm.
So that was another good thing that we did was we ended up bringing like a little thing of Himalayan salt, and
Yeah, just
you know
puts.
we used it whenever we felt cramping or something. I don't know if it's a placebo, but it ended up working.
Yeah, actually, that ended up like salvaging my deadlifts on the second meet because that cramp in my left hip just wasn't going
Mm.
away. So, like
Yeah,
you
and I
said,
remember recommending. Yeah,
whether it's a placebo or not, it worked for me.
If it
So,
works, it
no
works. Doesn't
complaints.
matter. Yeah.
yeah. In lifting, if it's a placebo or it's not, like it doesn't matter, right? If it's a placebo but it helps you lift,
Yeah.
like okay, make it be a placebo
It
at
just
that point.
shows the mind how much it's capable of, basically.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, because I remember Anthony was starting. Was it on bench that you were starting to get cramps in your hip? You said.
Yeah, bench after first attempt.
Yeah. So after your bench, you started getting that cramp, and I was like, "Oh, Anthony, just take some salt, some Himalayan salt. We have some," and it magically went away.
basically, yeah.
Pretty
Yeah.
much.
So don't know if it's placebo, but either way, it worked out. I mean, that's the important
Maybe
thing, I
in
think.
terms of like, food to eat during the meet, right? Because I guess that too is important. Like, what kind of stuff do you bring to eat? Nothing like too heavy or crazy. A lot of Rice Krispies, quick carbs. But I don't know, what would you guys, since you guys brought your food specific to the meet, what would you recommend?
Yeah. Um, Pretty much like from the info session, like the organizers were like, listen, you pick one meal that seems to agree with you on like a day where you need to perform, and you just bring that. Like if I remember correctly, like the guidelines were more or less like have like a little bit of protein, but like the rest should just be carbs, 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 carbs.
Hmm.
So that's why like Rice Krispies I found work really well because it's not something that's gonna make you feel like bloated and disgusting. It's literally just like carbs almost.
I guess because it's quick
Yeah,
sugar.
I like stuff like that.
we ended up kind of following the vertical diet almost for those meats, like just rice and ground beef. That was it.
Pretty much, like literally, yeah. And whatever Rice Krispies and Gatorade we had that day, like
Oh yeah, a lot of
that's it.
Gatorade. Caffeine. Man, you guys went
Oh yeah.
nuts.
I could give you guys a quick tip with the caffeine if you want. We had a pretty good idea of because okay, so there's certain pre-workouts that you can't necessarily take because if you do get like drug tested or something like that, you might have like a banned substance in your pre-workout. So you don't want to be caught in a situation where you took a pre-workout that ends up having a banned substance. So what we ended up doing is obviously not bring pre-workout, and we ended up bringing these tall like Starbucks coffee bottles.
the
And they
cold
ended up
brew.
being like
Yeah,
the cold brew, and they ended up being like the best thing. Like it gave me so much energy when lifting, and I think for Anthony too.
man,
No
those were
complaints, man.
intense.
No complaints.
Yeah, I think we were like the basic white girls in that gym when
Yo, literally.
our Starbucks.
Yo,
Yeah.
I think it was the most unique. Like I did not see anybody else there with coffee. If I'm being honest.
Yeah, I know it
Evan,
was
didn't you at
funny.
one
I
point
mean,
put pink salt in the coffee, or was it in your flask, or I don't
no,
remember.
yeah, right. It was that like I had used like my bottle for water mixed with like Himalayan salt just to like I
Hmm.
was mentioning earlier to balance the electrolytes and all. And I ended up using the same bottle for my
Oh,
coffee, and it
salt.
tasted
Oh yeah.
so bad.
Oh damn. Yeah.
uh,
that was also a pretty good moment.
Hmm.
I gotta say.
they were like stacking these up like I don't know.
They're coming
We each have
back.
like three. We each have like three favorite moments at this
Hmm.
point.
Yeah.